So we need to take this message seriously and pray. Amen.
On the 27th of January 2021, during a prophetic service, the servant of God, Dr. Ndlovu, gave a prophetic message clearly stating that scientists will be given knowledge to develop medicine to control the coronavirus pandemic. The following are his words.
I want us to say this pandemic will come to an end. Do I say the disease will completely vanish and then it's no longer there? Yes, I know. It will completely vanish. But when will it completely vanish? At the timing of God. It will completely vanish. At least in the new heavens and in the new earth, we know there will be no sicknesses. We don't even need to talk about COVID-19. There will be no sicknesses. So at the right timing of God, this disease will be under control. Before the end of this year, even for me to talk about the end of this year, just a few months from now, so many medicines will be controlling this sickness. We know there is a vaccine which is being rolled out, but here I'm talking about medicines this year. Just wait a few months, 4 or 5 months, 6 months, 7 months. You see the medicines that will be introduced to control COVID. This is scary COVID. A person will be critical. Within 2-3 days, they will be back home moving, being able to move on their own without any assistance. Because God, I am now prophesying, God has released the knowledge to say, I've heard your prayers, I've heard your thanksgiving. When we were going through a problem, which in the past 100 years, all the generations that lived between 1919 and 2020, they never experienced that. But you are a generation that I permitted to experience that. And some of you, you were found to be having weight in their inner man because you were praising me when you didn't know how this pandemic will come to an end. So God has released knowledge in the scientific and medical community. From now onwards, now that we are releasing the word, from now onwards, you will see the kind of inventions that they would introduce, medical inventions. They will introduce a lot of medical inventions, therapeutics, which will control the sickness, which will arrest the sickness, which when used, either for preventive purposes or for curative purposes, they will completely eradicate the sickness. Just watch, within the next 7 to 9 months, the therapeutics that will be released, says the Spirit of God.
As the world races to manufacture and import COVID-19 vaccines, an Israeli hospital say they may have actually found a cure. Researchers at Tel Aviv's Ichilov Hospital announcing over the weekend that preliminary drug trials have seen overwhelmingly positive results. Of the 30 patients that were given the drug, 29 showed improvement within 2 days and were released from the hospital within 3 to 5 days later. Professor Arber says the treatment has a 95% positive result and that it is inexpensive and effective. Let's go live to Ichilov, where Dr. Arber is standing by. Thank you so much for joining us.
It is a pleasure and honor to be with you. I'm at your service.
Wonderful. Okay, so as we've heard, this drug that you're developing is 95% effective. How did you discover that it could work against COVID?
Yeah, I think everyone has to be modest, especially physicians. And this was a phase 1 trial, which its main purpose is safety. And I'm very happy to say that it's 100% safe. We gave it in a very high dose, and I already asked to increase the dose to approval of the Ministry of Health, and I predict that there is not going to be any toxicity whatsoever. At the same time, it was very pleasant experience to hear the patient telling us that they are feeling much better after they were severe patient with a COVID-19 infection, which heavily breathing, low saturations of oxygen saturations in the blood, very weak, and they said all of a sudden they starting to come back to life. So this was very encouraging.
So at the right timing of God, this disease will be under control. Before the end of this year, even for me to talk about the end of this year, just a few months from now, so many medicines will be controlling this sickness. We know there is a vaccine which is being rolled out, but here I'm talking about medicines this year. Just wait a few months, 4 or 5 months, 6 months, 7 months. You see the medicines that will be introduced to control COVID.